guys, it's Erik from A Productions, and today we're going to be taking a look at a Sega Genesis game where you punch people with your intestine face and throw your head at them. I'm not kidding. We're taking a look at Decap Attack. This is a weird-ass Sega Genesis game. Let's take a look.
Decap Attack was released in 1991 and was developed by Vic Tokai and published by Sega. This game is the spiritual sequel to Kid Cool on the Nintendo NES and Psycho Fox on the Sega Master System. And the reason I say spiritual sequel is because even though all three of these games look very, very different, all three were developed by the same developer, Vic Tokai, and they all share very similar gameplay mechanics. Now, the storyline for this game is the islands that you saw at the beginning there have been spread apart by this guy in the middle, and you play as Chuck D. Head, and you've got to reunite the islands by going to each one and completing them. And it is a very, very fun game, actually. Right off the bat, I love the music in this game. And here's our main character, Chuck D. Head, who you can see was a headless mummy until we grabbed that first power-up there. And you can see his main form of attack is punching people with his intestine face, which is just freaking weird. And if you have the head power-up, you also chuck the head, which works as a boomerang. So you've got those two methods of attack. And also, you can jump on enemies and defeat them that way as well. So a total of 3 ways that you can kill enemies if you are completely powered up as Chuck D. Head in Decap Attack. Now, this is a game that I did have as a kid and had tons of fun with then, and revisiting it now I remember why I enjoyed it so much. Now, the controls do take a little bit of time to get used to. Chuck D. Head's movements are kind of momentum based, so it takes a little while for him to get going, and then once he does get going, it takes him a little while to stop, but once you get used to it, it's not a big deal. You can also repeatedly tap the jump button in midair to cause Chuck to kind of stutter step there and control his descent, which is also really cool. So once you get a grasp of the controls and all the different ways to kill enemies, this game becomes tons of fun to play. Each island is split into 3 sections, and then there's a boss fight at the end of the 3rd section. There's also a special item that you have to find, and that music means you found it. Now, you may have also noticed that I've been collecting potions throughout the game. There's a menu that you can go to here, and that lists all of the potions that you found, and you can use these potions to power Chuck up. For example, there's potions to speed him up and make him jump higher. There's potions that temporarily extend the reach of his intestine face. Now, unfortunately, they don't last very long, but they are there to help out when you need them. Now, like I mentioned earlier, each island ends in a boss fight, and this is the first boss. Now, the bosses are actually pretty fun to fight. They're not too difficult once you learn their patterns. There's also coins that can be collected throughout each of the levels, and this is where you use them at the end of each island in a bonus game. It's actually a pretty difficult bonus game too. It seems to be fairly random, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. As you can see, there's really no telling where they're going to go, and you honestly are lucky if you get one extra guy at the end of all that. But as you can see, we finished the first island and it moves back into place. This game is really, really great. I mean, there's tons of level variety. The music is fantastic. I love a lot of the music throughout the game. Lots of good enemy variety, unique bosses. It's just all in all a great platformer. If you're a fan of platformers, I really think you need to have Decap Attack if you have a Sega Genesis. As far as early 90s 16-bit platformers go, this one really is one of the best, and it's interesting because it really is early in the genesis of genesis of those kind of games. It kind of bothers me that everybody remembers Bubsy and Arrow the Acrobat, but nobody talks about Chuck D. Head or Decap Attack, when this game is so much better than a lot of those other 16-bit platformers. There's genuinely funny jokes, like the names of the islands, Tibuland, which is one of the legs. And it does a good job of having humor and jokes like that without having any of that awful 90s tood that a lot of 16-bit platformers had to have for some reason. The level variety is great too. I mean, look at this. You're partway through the game, you think you've seen everything, and all of a sudden it throws an auto-scroller at you, and one that's not too terribly difficult, but still challenging and actually fun to play through. If you're a platforming fan, I really can't recommend this game enough, and the good news is it's really easy to own. Complete and box copies aren't too terribly expensive on the Sega Genesis. They go for about $20, and a loose cart copy goes for about $10, so that's not terrible. But also, this game is on just about every Sega Genesis game compilation there is. It's on the compilations on the PS2, the Xbox 360. It's even on that At Games little handheld portable Sega Genesis thing that was shown in the title card for this episode, which keep an eye out for the full review of that system later on down the road. But like I said, this game is still super easy to own, and it's really just a fantastic game. If you're collecting for the Sega Genesis, go get this game. I'm gonna go play that At Games handheld Sega Genesis, because I've got a video to finish on that. Hey, thanks for checking out my review of Decap Attack starring Chuck D. Head on the Sega Genesis. If you like what you saw, don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and follow us at the social media links down below. Also, if you got a few minutes, why don't you check out one of these other videos. And as always, thank you for watching.